justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as follows. By having the time, date, and place of the meeting posted on the bulletin board in the Administration Building, July 6, 2021. By sending a copy of the meeting notice to the Star Ledger newspaper and Union County local source on July 6, 2021, and by filing a copy with the Township of Hillside and Hillside Public Library on July 6, 2021. Mr. Linde?
Present.
Ms. Best? Present. Ms. Horton Givens? Present. Mr. Howard?
Here.
Ms. Simmons?
Present.
Mr. Shapiro?
Here.
Ms. Tucker? Present. Ms. Laurel? Present. Ms. Cook? Here. All board members were emailed a copy of the agenda for review on 8/24/2021 at 3:48 p.m. At this time, I would like to take a motion to go into public comments.
Motion.
Residents are requested to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 15 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by participant to 3-minute durations. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming in and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific rights afforded by the laws of the state of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Anyone having public comments, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Rachel Haynes, 609 Pilgrim Street, Hillsborough, New Jersey. Good afternoon. Welcome to another school year. Welcome, Superintendent. So first I want to thank you for making safe decisions in the last school year. I for one appreciate it. I had an opportunity to attend the HIA open house last night. It was great. I'm excited. There's just one thing I'd like you to reconsider. That's your lunch arrangements for students. As you know, COVID's still real. Having lost family members while COVID friends. We learned last night that our students will be placed within 6 feet of within 3 feet of one another, and at lunch you take off the mask. So the one thing that's over and over repeated in society is the masks are protection. So we know at lunch they have to take off their mask. The second level of defense would be 6 feet. So I just ask that you guys reconsider whether it's partition or just giving them the 6 feet, it'll make you more comfortable and probably the students. I know from my side, we feel in the tag, keep your mask on. So now that we're welcoming back to school, it's kind of hard for him to understand why his friend is sitting right next to him. Outside that, that's all I have. I'm excited and thanks for doing a good job.
Thank you.
Kathy Ramos, 278 Shelton Terrace. I did reach out to Superintendent Glover for the issue about the nurses being hired. Thank you for answering my email with such a lengthy explanation. I did hear that we did hire nurses, but then on today's agenda, I see there is one rescinded. So I can't go based on, yes, now we have a nurse to cover every school, because according to this, we don't. Piggybacking off the lunch issue, is there any plan to stagger lunch times? I know in classes, the CDC says as long as you're wearing masks, it's 3 feet apart. If you're not wearing masks, then it's 6 feet. How do we plan to put that into effect with, I mean, if you've ever been to any of these schools, when kids are in lunch, they're on top of each other. With my oldest being immunocompromised, that raises a great concern to me. My youngest is in 5th grade, and we all know how these little kids are with germs. I can't risk that, well, I have no choice but to risk that because they need to be in school, but that risk terrifies me. Because my child who is immunocompromised, I don't know what any sickness, let alone COVID, will do to her. There's also a few questions that are for Hillside Innovation Academy. Why are the 4 classrooms being utilized in the 2nd building? When is the throughway going to be built for the children of HIA? School starts next week, and if and when it is built, will the children be able to still use the playground or gym during the building process? Have all board members walked through all the schools and assess what needs to be improved? Will there be teacher bathrooms at HIA as opposed to student bathrooms, like separately? Will the teachers having teacher lounge space away from the children for their breaks? And when will the new HIA budget be available online to you? Thank you.
Ken King, 1460 Liberty Avenue. One of the questions I have here, I noticed that Danielle oh, I'm sorry, can you hear me? I don't want to tell. But I noticed that Danielle Forum is crossed out. I see she was supposed to go, I guess, to the high school, correct? Yes. 12.
Closer to the mic.
Danielle Forum, I see here that she was supposed to go to the high school. Is this correct? Because I see it's crossed out?
That's scratched off.
Okay, scratched off. I was excited when I first saw it because I know my daughter was there and she was a big asset to the school. You know, not only was she a secretary, but she was like a nurturer for the children. Very caring, loving. The kids looked up to her, you know. So for me personally, I was so excited to learn that she was coming back and now is, I guess, rescinded. What's the why isn't it consistency within our district? Why does the staff go back and forth, the administrators change, the teachers change? Why we don't have any consistency? That's actually a labor issue, and we're not able to discuss it at this time. It's actually personnel matter, so we can't discuss it.
COVID, as we all know, is a great concern. And I'm one of the parents not only that's concerned about the little ones. I don't have any children there, but I have kids at the high school. And what are we going to do? Are we just going to stick to, as she said, the 3 feet apart? Can we talk about that? Or is that off limits? As far as one, child handling that, is that really with the 3 feet? Where they want to be masked off and within 3 feet of each other?
Good evening, first of all, thank you. There will be communication that will be forwarded that will be in alignment with CDC guidelines, and there have been communications taking place all week with the school principals to make sure that we adhere to the regulations. Parents will be notified prior to the start of school. And I say this because we are also in communication with the county health department. As things have been real fluid, we want to make sure we're giving you the right information. What I do not want to have is that today we tell you one thing, and by Monday morning we're telling you something completely different. I don't think that's fair to parents. But our goal is on the website to send out communication on the websites, as well as on communication to make sure that parents are aware of the expectation and what we're trying to do. So our goal is to be very transparent and letting you know. But I have another call with the county health department as well as other officials to make sure that we're in alignment across the district and as well within the county.
Okay, I understand that, but we have been going through this for a while now. There should have been some type of arrangement set up for the parents way before a week before school starts. You know, it's just not fair. How do we feel comfortable? I know I wouldn't dare have my children now around anyone without their mask 3 feet apart out in public. So how do you feel comfortable? I'm really worried about this situation. I am.
Angela Lawler, 54 Herden Street. I would just like to say welcome to Mr. Glover, that we are happy that we have you here with us, and we're looking forward to a wonderful school year. So thank you for becoming part of our family.
Thank you.
We're happy you're here.
Sorry, one more thing. Patty Reynolds, 78 Chelsea Terrace. What's the plan for disinfecting at the schools, pretty much? I know the smaller ones don't switch classes, but when, for example, my 4th grader, I know they only go from one classroom to the next, but in that little time period in between, how are they disinfecting the desk that some other child was previously sitting at that could potentially, be room for exposure there? And also with lunches, I know the only time in between is when they're getting up and going to recess and when the other group is coming in. Where are we getting the time to disinfect those areas, and how often are they going to be done throughout the school while the kids are in school? I know that Meet the Teacher was moved to outdoors. If something as simple as that was moved to outdoors, how do you expect any parents to feel comfortable with sending their kids to school with the guidelines that are being followed that don't really, it doesn't seem like it's that extra mile to me for our kids, which they deserve.
Anyone else have any questions? So just to touch on a few things that we can answer for this evening. This is a very fluid situation with COVID. We're under the state guidelines. We all see it on the news, things are changing every week. Every Friday there's a different update. Schools, we have to follow the state guidelines. It's changing. We're monitoring it daily. As it comes up, like Mr. Glover said, families will be advised on what's going on.
Just to be real clear, so everyone hopefully can you hear me? Because up here I can. Okay. Just to be real clear, the reopening plan that was developed prior to my taking the position as superintendent has been reviewed and have been approved by the Department of Education as well as the county. We are making sure that we make any updates based on what has been recently transpiring within our own walls of New Jersey, especially here in our own Hillside community. The goal is to make sure that you have the most recent and updated information, but we do know that things are fluid. We are bound by Executive Order 251 to make sure that we follow it. If not, there are punitive damages as well as certification ramifications if we do not follow it. I want to be clear in saying that it is my responsibility as superintendent under the school board, to make sure that we are following that. With that being said, school leadership has already been informed on ways that we need to make sure we're continuing to emphasize what we should be doing while we're in school. Masking, definitely important. We have examined what it means to be in the cafeteria or other shared spaces where masks may not be on, and what that looks like. I don't want to sit here today and say this is what it looks like, but what we will do on Monday is to have it posted on the website. This is what will happen. Yes, the goal is 3 feet, but we realize the reality is that may not always be the case. So we may have to put up some type of plastic or shield or barrier in between students. We want to make sure we have everything in place, because I don't want to sit up here today and say, we're going to do this, and then it's not possible. But you will be made aware of that. We also will have our training with our nurses, so they're understanding of all the expectations for our students, as well as their expectations in making sure that when students are seen, what's the protocols. And as far as disinfecting, we have spent money on training for our custodial staff as well as maintenance crew to make sure that the appropriate disinfecting of our classroom spaces takes place according to the guidelines. we have to be mindful and remember also, there are certain chemicals that you cannot have in your classroom space because it's not allowed. So we have to always make sure that any chemicals that are used on the course of the school day is appropriate due to the students that will be in the building. In the evening time, chemicals may be a little different because there's no students in it. But please rest assured, as a father myself, parents, we are going to do our best to make sure we're transparent. We're going to make sure we do our best to follow guidelines. We're going to be consistent across the district in making sure that all schools are following the same process. If there is something that we see immediately, we'll right-size it. It may not be perfect the first time, but I definitely we'll make sure we address it immediately. The safety and interest of our students is primary to me, and I'm sure you'll see that along the way. But we will always follow the health guidelines and not do anything that deviates that can jeopardize the health and safety of our students and our staff.
HIA staff bathrooms are separate from the student bathrooms, and they do have their own separate lounge area from the students. At this time, I'd like to take a motion to close public comments. At this time, we're going to start our committee reports. Committees met on Thursday, August 19th. Those in attendance were Mr. Howard, Ms. Cook, Dr. Eichenholz, and Mr. Glover in person, and via telephone were Ms. Worrell, Ms. Horton-Givens, and Mr. Shapiro. Committee updates were requested from Ms. Best and Ms. Simmons on 8/20 and 8/23. Ms. Best, can you committee report to finance?
As stated, the committee met on Thursday to discuss the finance items on the said agenda.
Ms. Worrell, can you move items under education? Comments under education?
Education Committee met on 8/19. We discussed the items that are on the agenda. There was an introduction to the new curriculum for the pre-K. There was discussion about it after we were introduced to it. When we looked at renewals of some of our programs, for example, the Build Guild program, it was suggested that we should survey our parents and students at the end of a program to see that it is effective. And that we discussed that, and it was agreed that we should do those things. All other items that are on the agenda are items that are always on in the beginning of the year, renewal, as well as standard motions that are done monthly. Thank you.
Mr. Howard, can you update labor?
Certainly, and welcome back to our parents. We met Thursday, August 19th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss the following items in the labor room, items 1 through 51. The primary items discussed were balancing resignations and retirements against new appointments. We also discussed school staffing concerns, transfers, and appropriate salary adjustments. We also made a very concerted effort to address the issue of ensuring that nurses were at every school and that the pay scales were commensurate with the keeping with the agreement at HIA salary laws.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to have our superintendent's report.
Good evening, Board President Cook, Board Vice President Best, school board members, educators, student, parents, and community stakeholders. I welcome you to my first school board meeting as your superintendent of schools. Let me begin by sharing with you that I am humbled, appreciative, and excited about starting the work of charting a course of educational success for the students and community here in Hillside. As I enter this space, I recognize the role, the challenges, and the great opportunities we have to lead our students, to lead our community, to lead our school district to a level of greatness that we have a district that is considered among the standard and model within our district and this state. In my 31 years of experience as an educator, I've been afforded the opportunity to be around folks who have enhanced my pedagogy and practice and working through multiple lenses. It's been these lenses that I feel, and I know, the importance of being a superintendent and one who is accessible, accountable, and transparent in what we are doing for our families and students. I sit here today and I truly recognize that I did not get here by just my own endeavors. Collaboration and guidance of many people has been instrumental in helping define my personal and professional ideology. I humbly thank my parents, the elders of my communities, the family, my wife and children, and so many others who have anchored my work and allowed me to stay rooted in the strength and encouragement that has cloaked my career. To my mentors, my colleagues, who I see some in the audience today, and I appreciate your attendance. To my friends and my critics, I appreciate you in so many ways. You, too, share this dais with me. The Hillside Community and School Districts, you have a superintendent who has dedicated his professional life, as well as personal life, to the pursuit of educational excellence for so many. It's not about me and my own development, it's about students and children first. Now these words may seem hollow to some, but you will quickly realize that my actions are filled with what I exclaim. The journey that we will collectively take over the next several years will make sure that our students are well prepared for post-secondary success. Post-secondary success that may be in a university classroom, post-secondary success that may be achieving a credential that allows them to become an entrepreneur, post-secondary success that may lead to military. Whatever the opportunities that our students are afforded past their secondary world, they will look back and say it was because of Hillside. I'm aware of the great traditions that exist here, the pride, the loyalty, and the community. We will continue to build upon those traditions. To the Hillside alumni, my doors will be open to you. No matter if you're the class of 1967 or class of 2021, you are a vital voice in the success of our district. While we are still here dealing with COVID, the effects that it's had on our children and our families, we cannot even begin to touch upon and scratch the surface. As noted earlier, so many of us have lost loved ones or seen loved ones struggle. And that's caused a level of trauma and experience for many of us. That's not going to be forgotten. Yet we will also make sure that when our classroom doors open on September 2nd, that we welcome our students in a way that allows them to be appreciated, loved, and supported. Teachers are not forgotten in this process because you too will be loved, welcomed, and supported. The experience you have when you come in our classroom will allow you to be constructive and reflective. It will be a space where we think about students first. As we as adults have always engaged in collaboration, discussion, sometimes exchange of ideas that may not always be on the same page, we ultimately are here for our students. I challenge my administrators on a regular basis to answer several questions for me, but the three priority questions, I ask this and I say to you, what is your role? What is your drive? And what is your why? And I'm going to say that again because I think it's important. What is your role? What is your drive? And what is your why? Listen, we may sit up here and disagree at times, but I'm going to always put before you the face of a student. Bring you back to the time when you sat in the classroom as well and thought about what made you smile when you went home and talked to your parents about your day in school. That's what we're here for. And if we make mistakes, we are definitely to be criticized. But when we do right, we all collectively celebrate in what is here and what we're doing for our students. Let me frame the three essential goals that I haven't changed, but I've added a little flavor to it. We are about building the emotional, academic, and physical stamina of our children. Again, they may seem like hollow words, but watch our actions. Academic excellence and rigor will be expected, and multiple stakeholders will be the partners to aid in this work. Curricular resources will be standards-based and aligned to a rigorous curriculum that will prepare our students for the next level. We're going to challenge our students. Students will be expected to read, and more read. And I know that wasn't grammatically correct, but I think you get my point. I shared with the athletic director recently that I love the fact that we have all-star academically achieving athletes. But I'm going to ask them some very serious questions when I walk on the football field. What book are you reading? Who's the author? And parents, I'm sharing with you the same thing you can ask them, not even knowing the book they're reading. What are the character traits? What's the setting, the plot? How would you change the story ending? That's accountability across all of us. And if they don't know a book, give them one. If they can't find one, we can find one in our homes. We will become a district where our students are literate and their voice will be that reflects their community, but also their intellect. The second and most important one is we are community oriented. We will embrace our industry partners. I have challenged my executive team to make sure that anybody we do business with, we have to ask them, what are you giving back to the students? Do they have internship opportunities for all of our students? I'm putting this on record. So if we're doing business with the coffee company, WB Mason, or any other person, do you have one opportunity for an internship for our high school students? By holding the community accountable, you are also holding our families and our students accountable because somebody out there is asking you, what are you doing in the school setting? Work-based learning is an essential aspect of the work of our students, and understanding industry connections can no longer just come from one voice. It must come from the voice of everyone. Many of our students, and most of you in this room, have stayed home and come back to your own community. That's what we want our students to do. Come back and continue to build our community. The third and equally important is we will be an organization that is responsive and creates a system of how we interact with each other and the community. I'm going to say that again because it's important. We will be an organization that is responsive, that understands what it means to be a system and how we address issues and concerns, and accountable to our community. Folks, we're going to have some missteps. And there may be some things we say that may not be 100% accurate at the time. And if I misspeak or have misspoken, I'm able to say, I apologize and I'll do better. But that's what we all do as humans. You know, we say failure is not an option, but failing allows you to see your mistakes and do better. But consistent failure is not acceptable. I assure you that we're going to strive to make sure our communities are equitable. And when I say equitable, equitable means students come to school and understand what it means to be a part of the process and their voice matters. Equity is not about always being equal, but equity is recognizing when the gaps are not the same, or equally distributed, and then what do we do about it? As I close in this part of my voice, I just want you to understand that these three goals will stand at the focus of our work, and everything we do filters into that. As we begin to transition our days on September 2nd to having our students back in person, the belief, the hope is that we don't have to shut down. But what we have learned over the last 18 months is that we're prepared. So how are we prepared? Let me explain. We have the technology tools and devices, and we have ordered additional. We will make sure that students who may not have access points in their home will be taken care of. We will make sure that we're communicating to you in the event that we have to close at the drop of a dime, that something has happened, that our students go home prepared. And when we return, we will make sure that our students are focused on the work that they need to. But when they're at home, it does not mean they're not learning, because you as parents are the first teachers they ever have, so they will continue to learn. And we will make sure that our teachers are able to send to you via social media, electronics, emails, what are some of the things students can still be working on until they come back to school. I'm not a fan of the term learning loss, but I do understand that learning has been interrupted. And so when learning is interrupted, what do we do to fix that? What do we do to make sure that when they come back into the buildings, they're still as prepared? We will be transparent in making sure that you have the information you need so your students are successful. But at bare minimum, students should always have a book at home. They should always be reading. They can always practice the work that they've received previously, and they'll have electronic access, which you'll be able to access through Parent Portal and through Genesis to see where they're at and what they should be working on. The COVID protocols have been fluid. As noted a few minutes ago, the reopening plan will be available to all stakeholders, and anything that causes us to have to change, we will make sure. Again, Executive Order 251 is driving and guiding us, but we're going to make sure that we're all in alignment for the health and safety of our teachers, our students, and our parents. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to take a few minutes to explain my first meeting to you and where our three goals are. I also appreciate the opportunity to sit before you tonight and share with you that as we continue to move forward, every year, you'll be able to see the steps and the milestones we have met. And at the end of any point in time we have failed you, I'm sure you'll be holding us accountable. But before that, I'll be transparent enough to say, this is our misstep, this is how we're going to fix it. There will not be a student who cannot say that he or she has not been recognized, accepted to be a part of the Hillside Public Schools. That's the assurance I give to you, and I ask in return that you work with us collectively to make sure our students succeed. I appreciate your time, and I thank you, and look forward to continued discussions with you.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Motion. Second. Be it resolved pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act that the Board of Education meet in closed executive session at this time to discuss matters related to personnel, pending or anticipated litigation, labor negotiations. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session. The matters discussed in closed session will be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Motion to go back into open session.
Motion.
All in favor? At this time, it's best to move items of organization.
I would like to move item number 1 under organization. Second.
All in favor? Mr. Linda?
Yes.
Ms. Bass?
Yes.
Ms. Horton Givens? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker? Yes. Ms. Morrow?
Yes.
Ms. Cook? Yes. Ms. Bessie, move items of finance.
I would like to move items 1 through 7 under finance.
Second.
Mr. Linda, any questions? Mr. Linda?
Yes to everything, go to number 7.
Ms. Bass?
Yes.
Ms. Horton Givens? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker? Yes. Ms. Morrow?
Yes.
Ms. Cook? Yes. And, no items under buildings and grounds. Ms. Morrow, take no items under education.
I move or make a motion to accept items 1 through 14 on the education agenda.
Second.
I would like to make a motion to table number 13 until we can get an evaluation of how well the process went for this last week. Go ahead and next row.
Now. Motion stands.
I have a question on,
Sorry, I said my motion stands.
Motion stands.
I have a question on number 12. The mentoring program, who's that for? The mentoring program on number 12, who's it for?
Who's it for? This was a program, Build is for the boys, Build was for the girls, and it targeted the students 7th to 12th grade, but I believe most of the students that participated this past year were from the 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
I have a question on number 13. What was the process for this year in the payment for it being virtual? What was the contract? Ready, set, go.
What was the contract?
The amount
I believe in your packet,
for last year.
it was emailed to,
It didn't say last year. It has this year's amount.
it's the same amount.
Did he do the same virtual services virtually?
The students did receive virtual.
All those hours?
Yes, there's the principal submits all those documents in, and this is I believe they do instruction in school in class. I believe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, that is actually part of their school day.
And we're not gonna add an evaluation of it?
I believe there is a document that's submitted.
We said that there was discussion at our meeting, and we discussed that going forward, we will evaluate surveys and evaluate our programs before we review them again.
Yeah,
This program has been, I think this is the third year.
I believe this is 5, 6 years and 5 years.
Has it ever been evaluated?
Yes, I believe last year there was a presentation to
I
the
mean, like a
students as to
survey.
what they have done, but this year, due to COVID, it's been basically virtual. They have not done the presentations this year, but they did submit an email in.
What I'm saying is for the last 5 years that we're paying $40,000 to this organization, have we ever had anything in writing that said the students enjoyed it from beginning to end? They
Yes.
learned? We have?
Yes.
Can I get that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If I could make a suggestion, Madam President, just make that available to everyone, so there's no more questions that everyone has.
And if everybody, went through your packets that you received on the 24th, that information was included as well. There was a full package from the Ready, Set, Go program, what it consists of and what the children learn.
I received that. I'm asking, did we receive anything from the people that were serving to say that those services were given? That's what I would like
That's
to.
confirmed through the principal.
But you have that, that's what you want to send back?
That is submitted to the office, administration, and then there's a voucher that is submitted for payment. So what happens is principals have to sign off that the services have been made and that it is presented. Mr. Linda?
Yes.
Ms. Best? Yes. Ms. Horton Givens? Mr. Howard?
Yes?
Ms. Simmons? Mr. Shapiro?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, everyone, and no class staying 13, if I receive that.
Ms. Laurel?
Yes.
Ms. Cook? Yes. Mr. Shapiro, can you move items under labor?
Move items 1 through 38 and 40 to 51 under labor. 39 was correct for the meeting.
Second. Mr. Linday? Mr. Linday?
Yes.
Ms. Best? Yes. Ms. Horton Givens?
Yeah.
Mr. Howard?
Yes?
Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes for all, however, abstain from 11E and 22.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
Ms. Laurel?
Yes.
Ms. Cook? Yes. We have all. We have 2 more items. We have 1 more item ready by attorney.
This is a resolution to approve the access and use agreement with the County of Union for the use of the section of the Woodruff Stadium that was in accordance with a stipulation of settlement dated October 5th, 2018 before the Honorable Catherine Dupuy in the amount of $1 per year for a period of 5 years in accordance with New Jersey State Green Acres regulations.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Linde?
Yes.
Ms. Best? Yes. Ms. Horton Givens? Yes. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes, with appreciation for the council.
Ms. Tucker? Yes. Ms. Worrell?
Yes.
Ms. Cook? Yes. At this time, anybody have any old and new business?
Just a couple of announcements that I would like to make towards the community, and please put on the record. As we begin the start of our school year, we also understand this is the beginning of athletics across the state for our student athletes. We're asking that you please come out and support the Hillside Boys football team that will play at Rutgers University on the main campus of New Brunswick on September 5th. The website of the district will be posting information as regards to tickets and any other events. We're also asking that you continue to look at the school websites to see all the information that is happening throughout the month. Please make sure your calendars are adjusted, families, for the days that students have off in September. Additionally, we also want to make sure that you are aware of the back-to-school nights. There may be some adjustments that will come out Monday and Tuesday in relationship to back-to-school night as we are preparing for any alternative dates that may happen. And I also want to finally say thank you to all the parents who have come out to 9th grade orientation, parents and students. Parents and students who came out to the 7th and 8th grade orientations at WOK and Hillside Innovation Academy. I had a chance to meet many of the students, many of the families, and I was quite pleased with just the love and the energy. It was standing room only in both locations, WOK as well as HIA, Hillside Innovation Academy, and the 9th grade students. You'll be very proud to see that the 9th grade students entering the building, they're ready, and I'm excited to see them. They held me accountable. And if you know any of the 9th grade students, ask them what I did. It was a quite 2-minute pleasure conversation. They held me accountable, and some couple students received a few prizes.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just on behalf of the board member, Superintendent Glover, we'd like to formally welcome you. We wish you every success this year and beyond.
Ms. Best, can you close us out with our board member comments?
Good evening, everyone. We would like to thank you all for coming out tonight, for always supporting the students, supporting our administration and our staff. For the Hillside School District, we would like to again welcome our Superintendent Glover. We know that we have a lot of confidence in you, and we know that we are going to have a wonderful and successful year. We want to keep in mind everything that is going on, but just know that we do have our students' best interests at hand, and that we are working to inform all the parents every step of the way, and that we're open to you coming to us and providing you with whatever information that you need. We want to also wish our administrators, our teachers, our parents, and our students a healthy and exciting new school year, and we hope to see you at the football game, both times. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.